Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's Tina. And today we are talking about new releases. On this week's podcast, we are sharing books that we were easily distracted by, some new releases, and I've already picked my TBR. And for this week, I'm actually sticking to the books that I had for my March books on the radar. So let me tell you what I'm planning on reading. First up is Tilt by Emma Patee, and I am just in the mood for a thriller. I cannot resist, and this one sounds really interesting. It's about a woman who's 9 months pregnant in IKEA when some sort of natural disaster happens and things crumble around her. And she has no choice but to walk back to get to her house and to try and find her husband. So very excited for that one. I'm hoping it is a page turner. The second book I'm going to read is Broken Country by Clare Hall. This one has been getting all the accolades. I am doing a buddy read for this one with my friends Renee and Katie. I will link their channels down below, and I've actually already started this one. It's so good. It's so good. I could have easily picked this one for my first sentences because the first sentence is excellent. It says, "The farmer is dead. He is dead, and all anyone wants to know is who killed him." Excellent. Love it. Mwah. This is a historical fiction, dual timeline book about a woman who is in love with two men, essentially. So you got to figure out with her what's going to happen for this one. So I am so intrigued. And then the third one that I'm going to read is Back After This by Linda Holmes. I feel like this is going to be easy breezy. I've read two of her books previously and very much enjoyed them. This is about a podcaster who is typically behind the mic. She is an editor, but for reasons, in order to keep her job, basically, she has to get in front of the podcast mic, and there's a romance, there's a dog, and I think this one is going to be really cute. March is a fantastic publication month. I think there's something like 30 books that are coming out this month that I cannot wait to read, so it was hard to narrow it down for this one. I don't always pick books that were coming out or released in the month that I'm filming, but for this one, it just so happened that it was easy to do so. I will check back in soon with my thoughts. All right, I'm not sure about this lighting, but I am starting a new book today, so I have to tell you about it. It's Broken Country by Clare Hall. And I already read the first sentence for this one. It is very compelling. This one's about Beth and her kind husband, Frank, who are happily married, but their relationship relies on the past staying buried. And you come to find out that the man or boy that she fell in love with when she was younger has moved back to their town, Gabriel. And in the very beginning of the book, the brother shoots their dog because their dog comes after the sheep on their farm. And this is said to be a sweeping love story full of impossible choices and explosive consequences, which, let's be honest, that sounds absolutely perfect. There's 4 parts to this. And it starts with Gabriel, then it goes to Bobby, then it goes to Jimmy, then it goes to Frank. So I think those are the 4 men that are in Beth's life. And looks like it does a lot of back and forth playing with time, playing with, before. So I'm thinking it is sort of working up to the accident, because we know from the first sentence the farmer is dead, whichever farmer or whoever they're talking about, but we don't know what happened to him. So I think the present day is working toward that, and the past is going back and figuring out Beth's relationship with Gabriel. I will report back when I have more thoughts. I am excited to read this one. I am coming to you a different person. I just finished Broken Country, and this book was incredible. It's as good as everybody is saying it is. It is so propulsive, and when I tell you I was hooked, I was carting my little arc around everywhere, reading it whenever I could, and I can't even begin to explain why it was so propulsive, but I really feel like there was no filler in this book. It's told from 2 timelines. You've got the past and the near present, and all of this is sort of culminating to this horrible, horrible event that takes place. And you know what happens because the first sentence of the book. So you have an idea about what happened, but the book is basically showing you Beth in these 2 phases of her life. They're showing you who she was when she met and fell in love with Gabriel when she was a teen. And then they are showing you who she is today, the farmer's wife, who she's been for, 17 years since they got married. And this is a love triangle. What I think the author did so flawlessly is that I was equally invested in both of these men. I couldn't believe that she was going to have to choose one over the other. When we were in the past, I couldn't see her without Gabriel. When we were in the present, I couldn't imagine her leaving Frank. And this book is just so smart because it really gets you to care about everybody that's involved in the narrative. It also does a good job filling in the courtroom scene. So you know that somebody's on trial for something, but you don't know what. All you know is that they're being interrogated. And eventually, of course, you find out all of what happened. And there's a very, very satisfying epilogue. If you don't cry while reading this one, I have to question you because something is up if this one doesn't make you cry. I can't believe that this is her US debut. I am rabid for more books from her. It's historical fiction, but felt very present day. This one will be great to discuss with your book club or with a reader friend because there were so many ethical concerns and questions and what would you do. This one's a full 5 stars. I can't believe how much I enjoyed this. I'm sad it's over. I want to read it again. And this one definitely will be in my top 10 for the year. So I wanted to add a little editorializing. As I'm editing this vlog, I'm seeing a lot more reviews come out for Broken Country because it's Reese's pick for March. And you know, when books get too buzzy, people start to get very fussy with it. Here's what I would say. I saw somewhere that they comped this to Where the Crawdads Sing. No, I do not see that comparison, and that's a compliment from me. I recognize that I'm someone that really takes her favorite books seriously, and I don't like to see a lot of criticism about it. And that's just the facts. But I think for this one, if you're going to pick up this book, knowing it's a love triangle, that you got to be okay with that, right? Like if you don't like books where it's complicated, messy, gray areas, then you're probably not going to like this one. Just wanted to weigh in. I still maintain that this is one of the best books I've read in a while. It was very propulsive for me. And if you're not vibing with it in the beginning, because you go back in time and she is in her teens, you're not there very long. So just know that. I think you should give this a shot. I think it's a lot more complex and nuanced than people give it credit for. I also am saying that this main character went through things that I don't wish on anybody. And I can understand why something that made her feel alive again could be attractive to her. So that's all I'll say. Well, it's me reporting from my car again, but listen, I've got my baby with me. Hi. I have to tell you about the book I just started. It is incredible. It is called Tilt by Emma Patee, and I am so delighted. It's a thriller, or at least it's a book with a thrilling premise because you have a 37-week-old mother in Portland who's at IKEA. She's shopping for a crib. And then something happens, and I am about 15% in, and you don't know exactly what happens, but it's definitely some sort of natural disaster. Like I'm thinking earthquake, and everything collapses within the IKEA, and she has to basically escape. And the rest of the book follows her as she is trying to reach safety. She doesn't have her phone. She can't get in her car because her keys got, caught in the rubble. This book is so fast-paced. Even when she was in the IKEA, my heart was pounding. I couldn't wait to see how on earth is this woman going to get out. The main character is also really funny. She is not where she would like to be in her life. We also don't know much about her partner. I gather that he's not where he wants to be in his life either. But so far, so good. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm flying through this. I'm doing the audio. Can't say that I love the audio narration, but I don't care because I need to know what's going to happen to this woman. I also have the ebook, so I will be finishing this in ebook once I get home. Probably not right away, but at some point I will be finishing it. I am so into this book, and I will report back. Well, you know that feeling when you finish a book that you love and you just want to give it like a standing ovation. You're clapping for the author. They really nailed the landing. I just had the opposite experience finishing Tilt, and I booed the book. I literally went, boo, because it is a novel, right, about this woman who gets caught in a massive earthquake in IKEA. And she is very pregnant, and the entire book is basically her making her way home, and you're wondering, is she going to survive? What's going to happen? You're traveling through the streets of Portland with her, and all throughout, I would not call this a thriller. It's much more literary than that, which I'm fine with. What I am not fine with is the ambiguous ending. I think as readers, I I like ambiguous endings now and again. I am somebody that never minds an epilogue. Like, you can tell me everything. I don't need to fill it in. I don't want to choose my own adventure. You wrote the book. I want you to tell me the ending. But on occasion, I can get down with it. This is not an occasion in which I can get down with it because, again, this whole time you're wondering what's going to happen to Annie, what's going to happen with the people that she sees along the way, and you don't get the resolution that I found was at all satisfactory. So I'm really mad, actually, because I was loving this book. I was, I should say I loved it to begin with, and then as it wore on, I started getting very sick of being in her head. The main character is not somebody that, I don't know, she's pregnant, and she really reminded me of being like 38 weeks pregnant when everything is terrible. And granted, she's that pregnant in an earthquake, right? But just as a person, I'm like, I don't think I would have gotten along with her in real life. I also didn't like her husband, fiance, whatever, the man, right? The father, the baby daddy. And I'll leave it at that because I'm trying to not spoil it. But I think as readers, there are certain books, especially when the setup is, hey, there's this massive earthquake and a woman gets trapped in IKEA. What happens? We deserve to know all of what happens to her. I'm very unsatisfied. I'm going to give this 2 stars. It's a debut, so maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I don't know, man. I'm disappointed. I was really hyped for this one, and I don't think I recommend it. If you like motherhood books, she does a very good job describing pregnancy, describing all of the things that we are tasked with as mothers. She's also processing grief a lot because the main character's mother has died during the pandemic. It's now present day, so it's been 5 years or so, but she's still sort of lamenting the fact that her mom's not around. Interesting things too to say about climate change. I really appreciate what she had to say. I did the audio and I didn't get the author's note. I would like to see and know more about what inspired the author to write this, because it's definitely a climate fiction novel. I love sort of these barbs. One of them is, are you excited? The husband's asking her if she's excited to have the pregnancy. And she was basically like, how are you able to find excitement during an apocalypse? And this is before, the big one actually happened. So I appreciated that. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed. I might come back later and change my review, but on gut reaction, I am disappointed. And I think we deserved more. 2 more chapters. You know what I mean? I could have taken that. Loose ends are fine, but not when all of the ends are loose. That is just my 2 cents. Anyway, bye. All right, it looks like there is some information on the author's Substack, and I'm not opening that because I don't do Substack, and I don't want to enter my email in for one more thing, but it looks like she is a climate journalist, and this was what would happen if the Cascadia earthquake actually happened. So I appreciate that it's based in fact. Sounds like she has a really cool job, but still mad about this book. Also, the cover makes no sense. It's a bird, and I don't remember there being a single bird in this novel. Now I'm just being nitpicky, but I don't know. Maybe I'll look up the author's note and see if that does anything for me, but boo. The book that I just started matches my outfit very well, which I appreciate. It's called Back After This by Linda Holmes. Linda Holmes is an author that I've read twice before. I've read both of her previous books, and I very much like her. She's sort of Emily Henry-esque, right? But a little bit more mature characters. They're in their, early 30s, but still, it's not in their 20s. And this one is about a podcast producer, or I think she's an editor, actually. And so this podcast editor works at this station where she's valued, but definitely more behind the scenes, and already I'm enjoying it. I am maybe, 10% in, if that, but she's behind the scenes, and her boss comes to her one day with an idea where she could be the host of a show, or she could be one of the main features on this new podcast that they're producing. The only problem is it is sort of a dating podcast. They're bringing on this big internet personality who has something like 1 million followers everywhere, and she is going to make this producer or make this editor follow her formula for dating. And that's all I really know so far. I think she's going to take it. She's sort of feeling beholden to her boss. And she's always been looking for, not necessarily her big break, but she wants to feel appreciated because she's very talented and she's always been second rate in their eyes. So we'll see how this goes. I'm enjoying the audio. Linda Holmes is actually a podcaster herself. I can't remember offhand. Let's see if I can find it in the back here. Oh yeah, she is the co-host of Pop Culture Happy Hour. So very talented in the podcast space. I obviously also have a podcast, so it's very fun to read the behind the scenes. And my husband's our editor, and I'm laughing because she is talking about this guy that she's editing, and he's making all these mouth noises and he's doing all these things. He's coming away from the mic, and I'm like, yeah, I've been there. Jonathan has said the same stuff to me. So far so good. I really wanted to read something easy breezy, light, because the last several books I've read, you've had a climate crisis, you've had a love triangle, you've had cannibalism. So I feel like I needed something that's very much grounded in today's world and just light and fun. Also, I'm digging this dog. Now, I haven't met the dog yet in the book, but I, hope he makes an appearance soon. I will report back when I have more thoughts. I also have this really uncanny ability to know exactly in the physical book where I am in the audio. I literally just opened it and I picked the exact page. I don't know why, I'm really good at that, but I'm on page 23. And that's how I often switch between print and ebook and audio. I'm just good at sort of knowing at what point in the narration I left off. That's not for nothing. I don't know that's helpful for anybody, but I guess a fun fact about me. Just finished back after this and I really enjoyed it. This one was easy breezy, funny, a tiny bit cheesy, but just a warm hug. But it wasn't too light. You definitely get some depth with this main character. She is somebody that works too much and maybe feels like she's doing fine, but below would like to find a partner to share her life with, and maybe is covering up that fact by working too much. I love workplace novels, and if you like those, this one does it really, really well because you are really in this podcast studio with her. And I loved seeing the behind the scenes of the podcasting. She had some really funny things to say about podcast editing, which I appreciated. And I thought the love interest was great. It wasn't about him though. It was much more about Cecily. It centered on her. And Will was this great accompaniment, but he also has a lot going on with him. And it's interesting to see how the two kept running into each other. I was worried that the coincidences would become too great, but it's one of those books where you just have to go with it. And I like that they also acknowledge in the book that, yeah, there's a lot of coincidences in this one. We keep running into each other. So at least they acknowledge it. I liked the podcast itself. I was actually surprised, she's going on dates with however many men, we'll say 25 men, and you are introduced and through these men not even halfway through the book, which I actually quite liked because it was, again, more about this character arc and her development versus a dating book. I also think if you like love stories with characters that are not in their early 20s, that have had, maybe been burned in the past, but worked through it and are now very happy with their lives. If love comes into it, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. I don't often see that in characters. I thought she was a really sort of dry-witted, very interesting woman. I loved this book. Linda Holmes narrates. She did a great job with the audiobook narration. Overall, I highly recommend this. If you are somebody that needs a lot of spice in your romance, you'll not be happy because this one was pretty tame, but that was perfectly fine for me. There's also a great dog, which we eventually do get introduced to. And overall, I think this was a great read. And I will continue to read Linda Holmes. I'm 3 for 3 with her. And this one is up there with my favorite. I might have liked it more than Evie Drake Starts Over. We'll see. Anyway, that's that one. All right, well, that is it from me for this vlog. And I will take 2 out of 3 recommendations any day. This one, Broken Country, is going to be on my favorite books of 2025, no question. I loved it. I am just obsessed with this book, and I think everyone should read it, frankly. This one was a really good, closed-door, sweet rom-com, and I was really rooting for this main character and very much enjoyed this reading experience, especially as somebody who loves podcasts and who has a podcast of her own. Tilt was just fine. It was a debut, so I would totally be willing to give this author another shot. It just wasn't for me, and I don't want to tell you why. But if you end up reading this and you love it, absolutely, let's chat. Or if you didn't like it, let's chat too. But that is it for this week. Thank you so much for watching me. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. And leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. But that's it. I will see you next time. Bye. Maybe now I'll go paint my nails because this is just simply